Hi, I'm excited to be here today with Sanjeev, and you are the founder of Harae Dx. Is that the name?
Correct.
Yes, and anytime that a company can come out with new advancements in the cancer testing process, it's something that excites me personally. My mother dealt with cancer way back in 1990, and by miracles and everything else, she's still alive and well today. But I think all of us have been touched by cancer in some form or fashion through a loved one, friend, whatever, whoever it might be. And so I'm excited for you to share more about the story of what you're doing. So if you could start out by telling us a little bit about your background and what led you to the point now where you have come up with this new cancer testing process.
Sure. Jerry, so I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've started several companies here as well as in other countries like India and Malaysia, etc. One of the, a couple of them have been successful exits. One which we took public, and another one which I started with my father. We sold that off to R2 Technologies, and which was bought by Hologics, and that's the standard of care for breast cancer today. Subsequently, I started a therapeutics company in also in cancer. That was in India, grew that. And while I was in India, that's when I noticed there was a massive problem where people had to come in and get tested for cancer. If they found there was a problem, they had to come all the way from the villages or tier 3, tier 4 cities into places like Mumbai, Tata Cancer Center, etc. And if they missed the appointment, they were back in the queue again, right? And that could be a couple of months away. So and then when I found that out there, I found similar things here in reality, because if you go into rural communities, people have to drive massive distances. Today, the cars are much better, but way back it wasn't. And so everyone didn't have healthcare even here at one time. And specifically, when you look at breast cancer, there's a massive issue, right? And so my goal was to see if we can do something to help with cancer. My grandmother had passed away with stomach cancer years ago, and a couple of my friends have passed away with breast cancer, and so this was pretty personal to me. I was looking at technologies at Lawrence Livermore, and I came across a test that they had developed for breast cancer. And that got me excited that, hey, there's something which we can take into the market to help people. So I talked to them and licensed that, but that still doesn't take care of the 80% of the people which are out there who have no access to cancer testing. There's a lot of drugs which are being developed today, which can help, but there's very little in diagnostics. And everyone says there's a lot of things going on in diagnostics when you look at Exact Sciences or Guardant or others, but they're very specific. They're working in colorectal cancer, or they're working in specific types of cancers using NGS, etc. But no one's really working in taking cancer testing to the larger masses. These guys are really doing it here in the US, putting up clear labs. You send samples to them and they test it and let you know. So the problem of taking care of finding cancer early, because if you can find cancer early, you can help save lives and reduce the cost. And both of those are major problems throughout the world. Every one of us has been affected by cancer one way or the other, right? As you rightly said. And especially when you look at breast cancer or cervical or ovarian, the women are the nucleus of the family. We as kids, our lives revolve around our mothers. Our wives take care of the kids, etc. Right? And so the woman is the nucleus of the family, and if she's not well, the family cannot really be well, financially, health-wise, whatever it is, right? And so it's important to take care of that. Now, what has been developed is mammography as far as breast cancer is concerned. And mammography today is available to less than 4% of the world's population. Actually, less than 10%, but less than 4% of the women worldwide are tested with mammography, which is the standard of care. It's actually 3.8%.
Wow.
60 million women get mammograms done every year. Out of the 1.6 billion women over the age of 40 who should be getting tested. And really, breast cancer is moving lower and lower in age. And so now they should really be, you're finding women who are as young as 30, 35, they're getting breast cancer. And mammography, because it's not as effective and you get too much radiation, they're actually increasing the age. They're saying you should do it at age 45. But you really need to start doing it as early as possible to find out if you can catch it in stage 1, and then go in and do mammograms if it's required, or MRIs or ultrasound, whatever is required. So that's where we are going. We decided to develop a microfluidic system, license the technology from Lawrence Livermore National Labs, and we developed this microfluidics disc. And on this, we can do 5 different tests which are required. It's a panel of biomarkers that we look for. So if you look carefully in here, the reagents are already placed in these silver pouches, and the antibodies are placed in the microfluidics system. And so then all you do is put a few drops of blood out here, and you put it in an instrument, which is basically this, and it spins. And the disc spins, and the blood now flows out. And as it flows out, it separates the plasma from the blood cells. And this plasma is where the protein markers are. These protein markers, the plasma goes into where the reagents are, and the protein markers are captured. So now what you did in a lab, you're able to do in this little machine, and you can take it into pretty much anywhere in the world because it can run on batteries. And so in less than about 15 to 20 minutes, you can find out if someone's got breast cancer. Now, there are people who are trying to develop other systems to do breast cancer detection. But what about when you go into cervical or ovarian, right? Those are imaging systems where you can't really do it with that. So with our system, you can ultimately extend this not only for breast cancer, but ovarian and cervical and prostate and colorectal, etc. So talking about the landscape, there's a massive landscape which is in cancer detection. Like I said earlier, Exact, Thrive, and Guardant, etc., Grail. All of them are developing these biomarker tests, but they are in central labs. So we can go down the road and partner with these guys and take their tests and put it onto this as well. And so now you can make cancer testing available to the larger masses in much shorter time. So that way you don't have to worry about someone really having to leave their homes and come. They can get it done in the tier 3, tier 4 cities. And the data goes into the cloud. So up in the cloud, a physician sitting far away, they can be sitting at UCSF or wherever and look at the data coming in from India, for example, right? Or Doctors Without Borders, they can look at the data for some patient that they treated in Timbuktu or in, in South America, and they can tell what's going on and what treatment should be done, right? So you don't have to worry about someone missing the appointment. Now, as far as the results are concerned, we've done about 7 different studies so far, and Lawrence Livermore had actually done one study of 110 patients, and they had shown a sensitivity of 91% and a specificity of about 97%. We repeated the study and we got about 97% sensitivity and 100% specificity. That's with 92 samples. And then we had other data which they gave us, which has been done on a centrifugal microfluidic system, like what I showed you. And there they've done 7 studies and it's averaged about 86 to 87% sensitivity and specificity. That's much better than mammography, which is the standard of care. Standard of care, mammography has a sensitivity specificity of less than 65% sensitivity. That means, it depends on the reading ability of the radiologist. And the specificity is about 3 to 4 false positives per image. So we are able to find something. If there is something, then you go in and get a mammogram, and then you can get started with your treatment. That's the big advantage. And so we have talked to FDA and Dr. Rena Phillips, who's head of IVD, and she said we can get this through a fast track under a breakthrough status through FDA. Now, where we are is we are doing a design for manufacturing. You can see the disc is already developed. I have an earlier version of the disc that we had developed where we tested everything. And while it worked in this, we were not able to scale this up. So now what we are doing is the design for manufacturing, scaling it up. Same thing on the instrument. SOSV Ventures, which is out of New Jersey, they've got IndieBio and Hacks Labs. So they've invested about 250 in the company. Then and Hacks Lab, which is the engineering arm, is helping us with the design for manufacturing of the instrumentation, and another couple of partners. So we are essentially doing an outsourcing model. We are 7 of us in the company. And so there's a microfluidics company close to LA, which is doing the microfluidics design for manufacturing, which I just showed you. And the biochemistry part of it is being done by a company up in Oregon for us. So we are actually ahead of schedule. We had forecasted that we could bring the product out into the market by end of 2023, early 2024. We are expecting, at the rate we are going, assuming we don't hit any potholes or hiccups on the way, we should be able to actually have the product in the market by early 2023.
Okay. And so where does this fall in lines of, is it defined as a medical device, or which roadway through the FDA does this take then?
Yeah, it's a medical device. It's a medical diagnostic system. So we would be going through not a 510K because there is no system like this. And it's a de novo status that we'll have to go through. Mm-hmm. The number of patient testing that would be required is about 930 patients, according to the FDA. In China, we have talked to the NMPA, the old CFDA, now it's called NMPA, and they have said it's a 2,200 patient study. In India, we have talked to the DCGI, and DCGI has told us it's about a 450 patient study that's required. In regards to CE in Europe, they just require that we take all the data that we have done, 900 to 1,000 patients, and compile it, submit it to our agent in Europe, and we can self-certify and start selling it out there. Okay. After getting the CE safety done, which is on the electromagnetic side, which we have already done on the prototype machine, but we'll have to redo it on the, once the final version is ready.
And how does the sales channel, the go-to-market strategy work then once you're going out, putting the device out there for sale. Is that now because it's portable, it's meant to, is it going to small clinics or rural clinic? How and where's your target demographic area initially that you're looking at?
Very good question. So initially it would be launched in the US, and we would be looking at the OBGYN offices. We'd be looking at mammography centers. We had talked to Dr. Smathers, who used to be head of mammography at Stanford. Then he set up his own mammography center, and he loved it. And he said, hey, I would love to have something like this where I can offer not just this as another armamentarium to helping women. So it would be in essentially mammography clinics, OBGYN clinics, and also in central labs. And again, how we would offer it is there are rep organizations, sales organization. It's a B2B to C selling, right? At the end of the day, we still have to educate the consumers that there's a blood test available. You can get this done 15, 20 minutes. You have an app. You can follow your results later on. So the advertisement has to be done through, and that would be not directly advertisements per se, but it would be more of having the Susan Komen Foundations, etc., talk about it, right? Giving their members this information. So it's going to be education of women and men, because men can also get breast cancer. I don't know if you know that.
Yep, I knew that. I was aware of that. Yes.
So it's education on the one side, just like they're doing with Exact Sciences is doing it with the Cologuard. We'd be doing that out here. And once that is done, you get the product out here, you get the FDA approval, then you can take a free sale license certification and go into other countries in India and China and the Middle East, etc. And then the process for approval is much easier. You don't have to really do a detailed clinical study, except in China. In India, you don't require that. In the Middle East, you don't require that. You can take the free sale license and start doing it.
Okay, so this product device goes to market, and what are you looking at for projections then as far as margins and how that's going to align with the product as you take it to market? And I know as production goes up, the margins will go down, but what are your current projections looking like for that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So initially in the first year, we are looking at, about 2-3 million in sales. And a lot of that will come from the instrumentation initially.
Okay.
But as you go along, the instrumentation sales, even though they are going up, but the consumable, which is the disc, you can do 6 patients on one disc. After that, you throw it away. So with every system, we are assuming there'd be about 300 to 500 discs bought a year, right? And so with addition, so it's an exponential growth on the consumable. It's the razor blade model, right, in sales. And so in time, your revenue keeps going up. I don't like to say it's a hockey stick though, but that's the projection it looks like. But but we are going to be bringing in new products, right? We'll be bringing in tests for cervical, ovarian, and partnering with other companies. So there will be a lot of expense going on that side as well, because we don't want to be just a one product company.
Sure.
So I think in about year 5 or 6, we are looking at about 500 million to 600 million in sales. And that's pretty much in line with what Exact Sciences and Guardant and others have done, right? So It's not, and they've just done it from the US. We are talking about a global thing because we would go into the US first, and then India, followed by China and the Middle East. And actually, US and Europe first, and then India, China. And
You've given us some of your background. Talk a little bit about just a few key members of your team and what they bring to the table.
So we've got a very strong team. A lot of all the people I have, they worked with, except for the microfluidics person, everyone's worked with me in the past in my different companies. The engineering head who was with me in my previous company, same thing with the software guy. The head of marketing in India was also with me in a couple of my previous companies. So they're a very strong team that we have. And then the advisory board is, again, very strong. With Dr. Professor Noriyuki Kashihara, who is a pathologist oncologist at UCSF and has started a couple of oncology companies and gene therapy, so he knows that very well. Mark Medu, who's at UCI, is a chancellor professor there, a distinguished chancellor professor now. And Matt Coleman at Lawrence Livermore, who actually did the discovery of the 5 biomarker panel working together. So we've got a strong advisory board. And then Shiva Vanapalli at Texas Tech. Texas Tech is my alma mater. And they've got a research park. I'm the vice chairman of the research park. So, and I was sponsored to become the vice chairman by the Health Science Center, which is the medical school there. And so they have agreed to be a clinical trial site as we move forward. So we've got a very strong, not just team, but board advisory board as well.
And as you mentioned, it's a team that you've worked with over the years. So the chemistry, I'm sure, and the cohesiveness of that team, helps lend more credibility and more of established organization for you as you move forward.
Exactly, and including also our partners who we are working with. For example, in LA, it's A-Line, which does the microfluidics, and A-Line is someone I worked with in the past as well. So there's, and I trust them, they trust me, and so on and so forth. Same thing with the other partners. So there's a healthy exchange of ideas, and our team is essentially managing these guys, passing on the information, and making sure that we are on our timeline, right, in regards to deliverables.
Sure. Let's talk about then, how much money have you raised to date? What is your current raise and ask? And then what do you view as far as the future in regards to, potential exit down the road?
Yeah, so we have raised about 300,000 to date, and we are looking to raise another 500,000 through a pre-Series A round, which is a bridge to Series A. We are doing that as a convertible note with a cap of 5 million, with a 5% interest in there, right, built in. It automatically converts at the time of Series A. Series A, we are looking at raising between 15 to 20 million. We are talking to 3 bankers, actually 2 of them. Huron is one banking group, investment banking group, and SVB Leerink, who are interested in working with us to get the funding raised. Besides SOSV, who is our venture group, which is also making introductions to VCs. So that is on the way. In regards to an exit, I look at ourselves as, there's one other thing I needed to mention before that. We are in talks with a large Japanese company, which is interested in partnering with us, using this technology, not for cancer, but other applications. And we are talking to them about setting up a joint venture to do that part of it, right? Because we want to remain focused on cancer.
Okay, sure.
In regards to an exit, I expect someone like an Exact Sciences or a Guardant, which is valued at about 10 billion today, would be someone who could buy us, right? Or a Roche or someone, or Samsung, who wants to be in this field, but hasn't got the capability to take it to the larger community, which is what we bring to the table, right? Plus, we also bring the tests for breast cancer, which none of them have.
Absolutely. So that raise, the $500,000 raise that you're currently doing, then what is the specific usage of funds for that?
So we would finish up the design for manufacturing with that, right? Okay. That would be done with that. And then we expect with the Series A to start doing the clinical validations and get the FDA approval and launch.
And we're in a question that I forgot to ask, but where are you at in regards to IP?
So we have got 3 patents which we licensed exclusively from Lawrence Livermore, which are all issued patents. We have filed 5 provisional patents at this point. And once we get the funding in this next, the bridge round, we would go in and start filing full-fledged patents on those.
Fantastic. This is, I think it's exciting because it appears that you are offering something that's unique to the, to the field. And, anytime we can help detect and prevent, do whatever is possible to, help people that are dealing with cancer find out, in a much more timely basis, or where they, like you said, there's places that they don't even have the technology or the ability to have access to testing, which is sad and it's scary, both at the same time. But, I really love what you're doing there, Sanjeev. Can you tell me from the investment side, is there a specific type of investor, or, just like an investor has specific startups that they invest in, as a startup and as a company that's looking to scale and build, what's the ideal type of investor for you? As far as, are you looking for somebody who might have some medical background or specific med tech device background, or is there a certain model of an investor that you would like to take on with your company?
Very good question. I think that's an important question. One of the things I'm looking for in investors is people who can bring contacts to us, right? That is critical. And it's not just contacts in the sense of, they may have contacts, for example, with the larger companies, with people we could partner with, right? So those could be contacts they can bring in. They may have contacts with venture groups, which they can introduce us to. So it's not just one or the other. So I'm looking for people who can actually add value to the company as they come in, right?
Yes.
We are going to be, as we go along, we'd have to set up our whole supply chain. They may have connections with the supply chain, which they can help us with as we move forward. So there's a whole bunch of things that investors, we want value-added investors. So for example, we've got San Joaquin Angels. You're looking at, they've done their due diligence, and now they have, I think, a bunch of their investors looking to put in money. They asked me for the investment documents. I've just sent it to them. So there is, and again, they're not every one of them. There are, I think, 3 or 4 of them who are value-added investors.
Sure.
The rest of them would not be.
Yeah.
I would not qualify them as value-add. They have money to invest, but they don't bring other value past that. Right?
Sure. And that can happen when you're working with the angel groups, because you have specific individuals within that group that add the value, but as an overall entity, there are ones, within that don't have the value, but it's those few individuals that can.
That's all you need.
That's what you. Yeah.
You don't need everyone to do something, right? It's a couple of them that need to help.
Sanjeev, is there anything else that you feel like we haven't touched upon, or?
No, I think one of the things, I think what you want to look at is, as we develop this, we've got partners, for example, in India already lined up who are interested in taking this as we move forward into India, helping us with getting the clinical study done and bringing it there. Same thing in China, right? Again, one of the things, maybe, an angel may have relationships, for example, in the European market or in the Middle East or in Africa, where they can help us get into those markets. So that's something which I wanted to add.
Okay. Fantastic. That's always helpful to have. Yes, and I look forward to seeing what happens with your company as you grow and move forward. I appreciate your time, Sanjeev, and wish you the best and most success with what you're doing. And again, thank you for your time.
No, thank you. Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.